Hi, I'm Riley. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. So where do I begin? 3 years ago, I was married to Adam. We had been together for 7 years, and I thought we were happy. I never finished high school, dropped out senior year to help my mom when she got sick. Never went back. But I built a successful landscaping business from scratch, and I was proud of that. Adam, though? He had his master's degree and worked at Westlake University in administration. He always had this way of making me feel like I wasn't enough because I didn't have fancy letters after my name. I remember the day he came home, all excited about some new faculty member, Dr. Natalie Parker, I say, pouring another cup of coffee for my best friend, Jen, who's visiting my new apartment. He wouldn't stop talking about her. Did you know she graduated from Harvard and Oxford? She's brilliant, Riley. I swear he said her name differently than other people's names. Jen rolls her eyes. Classic Adam. Right? Anyway, 6 months later, he tells me he wants a divorce. Says we've grown apart, and he needs more intellectual stimulation. His words, not mine. What did you say? Jen asks, leaning forward. I was devastated. Begged him to try counseling. But he had already made up his mind. The divorce was quick. Too quick, looking back. And then 3 months later, guess who announces he's dating the famous Dr. Parker? No way. Oh, yeah. And then he had the nerve to invite me to lunch to catch up a month after that. Said he wanted to maintain a friendship. I should have known better, but I went. Why would you do that to yourself? Jen asks. Closure, I guess? Anyway, we meet at this fancy restaurant. Way fancier than places we used to go when we were together. And he's sitting there with this smug look on his face. I bet he was just dying to rub it in your face. That's exactly what he did. He waits until I've taken a sip of water and says, Natalie and I are engaged. I nearly choked. Then he shows me this massive diamond ring he bought her and says, It's funny how life works out, isn't it? Natalie's a Harvard grad, a department head, not a high school dropout. We just connect on a different level, intellectually. He did not say that, Jen gasps. Word for word. And the way he looked at me, like I was something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. What did you do? I sat there for a second, trying not to cry. Then I congratulated him, paid for my untouched lunch, and left. Cried the whole way home. I would have thrown my drink in his face, Jen says, shaking her head. I was too shocked. But that moment, that's when something changed in me. I decided I wasn't going to let him make me feel worthless anymore. Good for you. Actually, there's something I didn't tell you about that lunch, I say, my hands tightening around my mug. He brought up our wedding day. Your wedding day? Why would he do that? To twist the knife. He said, Remember how nervous you were giving that toast at our reception? How you stumbled over those words? Natalie gives the most eloquent speeches. Last week at the faculty dinner, everyone was hanging on her every word. Jen's mouth drops open. That's so cruel. Your toast was beautiful. I remember crying during it. I know. But Adam always focused on the one time I said conversate instead of converse. He corrected me in front of everyone at the reception, said, This is why education matters, and laughed like it was a joke. I never liked him, Jen mutters. The funny thing is, I thought I wasn't good enough for him. The whole time we were married, I was always apologizing for my grammar or pretending to know about books I'd never read. It was exhausting. I remember, Jen nods. Like that dinner party where he made that comment about you not understanding his professor friend's simple economic theory. God, that was humiliating. And that friend of his, Victor, he was there at the lunch too. The one who always called your business a little gardening hobby? That's the one. He joined us halfway through lunch. Adam had planned it, of course. The two of them sat there talking about Natalie's brilliant research while looking at me with pity. I would have lost it, Jen says. I almost did. But I just smiled and said I had to get back to my little gardening hobby because we just landed the contract for the new shopping complex downtown. A 6-figure job. That shut them up for about 30 seconds. Jen high-fives me. That's my girl. You know what the worst part was after the divorce? I continue, staring into my coffee. The silence at night. I'd come home after a long day of work, and there was no one to talk to about it. I'd reached these milestones with my business, like when we landed the Peterson Hotel chain contract, and I had no one to celebrate with. You should have called me, Jen says softly. I was embarrassed. I felt like such a failure. Everyone knew Adam had left me for this brilliant professor. I kept thinking maybe he was right. Maybe I wasn't enough. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. wondering what I could have done differently. It wasn't your fault, Riley. I know that now. But back then, I was a mess. I threw myself into work. The business actually grew faster after the divorce. Ironic, right? I hired 3 more crews, bought 2 new trucks, started specializing in drought-resistant native landscaping for commercial properties. But coming home to an empty house every night? That was tough. So I called my cousin Mark. He's an IT specialist at Westlake. That's actually how I met Adam in the first place. I asked him to keep an ear out about Adam and his fiancée. Wait, was Mark the one who helped you with your website? Jen asks. That's him. He didn't want to get involved at first, but then he said something interesting. He said, "You know, Riley, people in the department have been wondering how Parker got that promotion so fast." What do you mean? I had asked Mark during our call. She's only been here a year, Mark had explained. Became department head over people who've been here a decade. And between you and me, her credentials don't quite add up. There's something off about her resume. I turned back to Jen. That got me thinking. So I asked, Mark, if I wanted to verify someone's degree, how would I do that? And he told me most universities have online verification systems now. You just need a name and birth date. But the real gold? Academic journals. If someone really went to Harvard and Oxford, they'd have published papers. Their dissertation would be on record. So what did you find? Jen asks, refilling her coffee. Nothing at first. I couldn't get her birth date. But then I remembered Adam's password pattern. He always used important dates with his initials. So I tried logging into his email. Riley, that's illegal, isn't it? Jen looks concerned. Technically, yes. But he never changed the password to our shared Netflix account, and he used the same pattern for everything. Not my fault he's predictable. Anyway, I got in and found an email confirmation for a dinner reservation celebrating her birthday. Bingo. Birth date acquired. Then what? Jen is fully invested now. I started digging. Harvard? No record of a Natalie Parker graduating in her supposed year? Oxford? Same thing. I checked academic journals. Nothing published under her name, not even a dissertation. The woman was a complete fraud. No way! So what did you do? I didn't want to rush. I needed more evidence. So I reached out to Sophia, my old friend who works in HR at Westlake, just for coffee to catch up. During coffee, I casually mentioned that Adam was engaged to Dr. Parker. Sophia got this weird look on her face and said, "That's interesting." When I pressed her, she said, "Look, I shouldn't say anything, but there's been some inconsistencies with her paperwork. Nothing concrete, just things that don't add up." Not then, but a week later she called me, said she'd been reviewing files and noticed Parker had listed a previous position at Princeton that couldn't be verified. She'd flagged it to her supervisor, but Adam had personally vouched for her, saying there must be a mix-up. So Adam knew? Jen looks shocked. Maybe not everything, but he definitely helped cover for her. I needed to know more, so I decided to go to a department fundraiser. Mark got me in as his +1. "What are you doing here?" he hissed when he saw me. "Supporting my cousin," I said innocently. Plus, I've always been interested in... What was Parker's department again? Theoretical physics, he snapped. And her name is Dr. Parker to you. Right, Dr. Parker, I said. I'd love to meet her, congratulate her in person. Stay away from her, he warned. You'll embarrass yourself. That made me even more determined. So when he got pulled into a conversation with the dean, I made my move. Walked right up to Natalie Parker, all smiles. Dr. Parker, I said, extending my hand. I'm Riley, Adam's ex-wife. Congratulations on your engagement. She looked surprised, but shook my hand. Thank you. Adam's told me about you? All good things, I hope. I laughed. I'm actually really interested in your work. Adam mentioned you studied at Harvard under Dr. Rosenthal? Her face changed slightly. Yes. Brilliant mind. Fascinating. I just read his paper on quantum field theory. What did you think about his position on string theory? I had no idea what I was talking about, just terms I'd looked up online. But the panic in her eyes told me everything. She stammered something about complex perspectives and excused herself. I knew I had her. Jen laughs. That's brilliant. But wasn't that risky? Maybe, but I needed to be sure. And her reaction confirmed my suspicions. The next day, I compiled everything. The degree verification attempts, the academic journal searches, screenshots of her non-existent dissertation, everything, and created a detailed report. Then I sent it anonymously to the University Board of Trustees, the dean, and several department heads. 3 days later, Mark called me in a frenzy. Riley, you won't believe this. Parker's been called to the dean's office. They're talking about an investigation into academic credentials. Later that night, my phone exploded with texts from Adam. What did you do? I know this was you. You're just jealous because she's everything you're not. You've ruined everything. I didn't respond. 2 days later, Mark called again. Parker had been suspended pending investigation. Her real name wasn't even Natalie Parker. It was Nina Parnell, and she'd done this before at 2 other universities. What about Adam? Jen asks. The university started looking into who helped her get hired. Turns out Adam had pushed her application through, overridden some verification protocols, and even altered some records. Whether he knew everything or not, he was complicit. A week later, the university newspaper broke the story. Department head exposed as academic fraud. Both Parker and Adam were fired. I decided to attend Adam's exit. Waited in the parking lot as he carried out his box of office supplies. He saw me and froze. Come to gloat? He spat. No, I said calmly. Just curious? Was it worth it? Throwing away our marriage for a liar? You did this, he hissed. You ruined my career. No, Adam. You chose a fake Harvard grad over a real high school dropout who loved you. You ruined your own career. He tried to say something else, but I cut him off. By the way, my landscaping business just signed a contract with Westlake University. They're redesigning the quad where you used to have lunch. Funny how life works out, isn't it? The look on his face, Jen. Priceless. So that's why you were on campus last week, Jen exclaims. The timing worked out perfectly, I admit with a smile. I knew he'd be clearing out his office that day. And yeah, I made sure to wear my company jacket with the logo while walking the grounds with the facilities director. The best part? The facilities director introduced me to the new department head, Dr. Leon Chen. He's brilliant, accomplished, and actually earned his degrees. We got talking about sustainable landscaping for campus, and he invited me to give a guest lecture to his environmental science students about practical applications. You're kidding! That's amazing! I know, right? Me, a high school dropout, giving a lecture at a university? I was terrified, but I did it last week. Were you nervous? Jen asks. Absolutely. The night before, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about all those smart students with their fancy degrees judging me. I rewrote my notes 5 times, practiced in front of the mirror until 2 a.m., almost called to cancel. What changed your mind? I thought about what Adam would say if he heard I'd chickened out, and I decided I wasn't going to let fear or him control me anymore. So the next morning, I put on my best business outfit, not too fancy but professional, and drove to campus. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely park. But the minute I started talking about soil conservation and native plant integration, something clicked. This was my world. I knew what I was talking about better than anyone in that room. Talked about native plants, water conservation, sustainable business practices, all the stuff I've learned hands-on over the years. How'd it go? Really well. The students asked great questions, and Dr. Chen said he'd like to make it a regular thing each semester. One student even asked if I offered internships. What happened to them after that? Jen asks. Parker, or Parnell, is facing charges for fraud. As for Adam, last I heard, he had to move back in with his parents in Ohio. No references, no prospects. His academic reputation is shot. And how do you feel about all of it? Jen asks quietly. Honestly, for a long time I thought I wasn't enough because I didn't have a degree. Adam made me believe that. But this whole thing showed me that education doesn't equal integrity or intelligence. I built something real while he chased something fake. And now, I'm taking online classes to get my GED. That's amazing, Riley. I'm so proud of you. Thanks. It's not Harvard. I laugh, but it's honest. And that's worth more than any fancy degree. Have you heard from Adam since that day in the parking lot? He emailed me about a month ago, said he was sorry, that he'd made a terrible mistake, that he missed me and what we had was real. Asked if we could talk. And what did you say? Nothing. I deleted it. Some bridges should stay burned. Besides, I'm too busy building my life to dig through the ashes of his. So here's my question for you. If someone from your past who hurt you badly came crawling back with an apology, would you give them another chance, or would you leave them in your rearview mirror like I did?